Good morning, good morning. Everybody find a seat. It says we're live, right? And we are live. Good morning, Debs. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I am your host. Hey, looking at redistributing our podcast today. So just wanted to let you know this is the first time I'll talk about this, probably the last. I am looking at distributing our podcast because for $10 a month here I can do that, and I think that's a worthy investment. So if you ask me if I'm trying to grow, one of the things that I've noticed, I am a data analyst. I did study at the old alma mater at Purdue University. Um, and I know there's a lot of people that ought to be a little frustrated at our lack of growth, but I'm kind of one of those people that just puts his head down and does the thing, and less of the kind of person sitting around trying to figure out how I can capitalize on the thing. And the thing, of course, is this show. I value you, the audience, my peers, my elders, my friends, dare I say. The lot of you are the most consistent uh, voices in my life, and I thank you for that. And I'm very protective of that, right? So there's also a very good reason not to rush to redistribute my podcast. One, I'm not interested in capitalization. Two, mostly because typically what happens when there's money involved is somebody wants to be in control. And hey, you might not believe this shit, but I happen to have all the power I need. Know what I mean? I kind of happen to be the host, right? Kind of in control of the whole damn thing, right? So if I start trying to capitalize, first I'm gonna give up control. People are gonna want to pull levers, right? They're gonna want to say, "Hey, Jared, 8 a.m. ain't the right time of day. You got to either be earlier so people can miss your show and listen to it before work, or you got to be later so they can be like at work listening to your show." And I am not going to do that. Okay, 8 a.m. to 9:30, pretty much 7 days a week at this point. Okay. Um, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. For many of you, it was Easter weekend. You probably got together with people you don't normally see, who you don't normally cavort, that you did. And you got through it, and you're here with me now. Welcome back to Earth. We were in deep red Okeechobee. Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, was like, there's probably a lot of people that were not in a place where they were felt very welcome. For the record, that's me. I was with my wife's family, and not a single person there said a word to me, and I know why. So, yeah, I am receiving the silent treatment from all the people that I don't live with. But I'm just right. Like I was just right about everything. Everything sucks. It's not my fault. I fucking told you. You know what I mean? I don't have to say anything. I just food's good. Food was really good. What are these, green beans? You know what I mean? So deep red Okeechobee. That was funny. What up, Virgo? Been a minute. So hey, like I said, I'm just letting you know before I put any money in the show. That rhymed. It was not on purpose. Um, I'm gonna look at redistribution. Oh, that doesn't affect anything. I'm putting the money in, so I need to take breaks. Hey, I feel that. I feel that. Remember this show opens every day with War by Edwin Starr. And so if you're in the chat, you'll notice there are links, at least on YouTube. So in case you didn't know, if you're sitting here on TikTok, we're actually co-streaming this live on YouTube, okay? Which also has its own chat. Also, when I post links in the chat, if you're in the YouTube chat, you can actually click the link and go to the link. Yeah, I know, right? Instead of either not getting it because you can't see it in the chat on TikTok here, or having to copy and paste it. Okay, so for those of you new to the resistance, okay, everyone, one of the things we have to constantly be aware of is that for every one of the people that's sitting right here in front of us that we know, there's a person here that it's their first time. Okay. And in case you haven't picked up on it yet, this is the resistance. And the resistance starts with doing things like getting rid of Facebook, Threads, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitch, or Twitter, not Twitch. I know people would die without Twitch. Twitter and Amazon off your phone. You should look into shopping locally. Mm-hmm. Doing local business. Okay, and remember, one of the things I do anytime I realize I have any amount of people watching me is we revert to, hey, I'm an advocate for a healthy lifestyle. Make sure at a sort of bare minimum, you get 8 hours of sleep a night. You also probably need a nap. Okay, you need to drink water. You need to eat right. Okay. Cece coming in with hot topics. Yeah, I start about 4 a.m. every day, CC. So yeah, we're aware. Pete Hegseth was leaking battle plans to his wife, his lawyer, and I don't even remember the other guy. But it's like, what the fuck? His dad? I don't like. It matters who the nth person to be receiving classified information via Signal. And remember, anytime you hear Signal, what you ought to automatically think. I made a video about that already, Bectrola. If you hear Signal, think the messages get deleted. It's like a feature. And so the idea is to be able to leak that information and get away with it. And there's like no uh, track record of that. There's no paper trail. So understand, like, maybe hopefully that puts a lot of pieces together for people where you're like, oh, that's why they use fucking Signal. Yes, because they don't like keep track of your messages and shit, and they delete the shit after a while. I think it's 30 days by default, but you could also just delete whole conversations. However, like keep it moving on that whole thread. Going into a conversation onto a specific app with the intent of hiding that information, that's gotta be illegal. And then also remember how what was his name, Goldberg, the editor in chief of the Atlantic, got added to that chat and shit. Remember, they weren't trying to leak that to the public. They were talking about that on Signal, thinking those messages were going to get deleted. They weren't going to get caught talking about this shit and being happy about the killing of other people that they didn't actually do themselves. Okay? That's what makes it particularly harmful. What um, that JD Vance is sort of like celebrating what they're doing, right? It's yet another instance where JD Vance is associated with something that he has very little to do with the action of, which apparently is kind of sort of how he did it on active duty. What the fuck? Why not tell the whole world? Yeah, right. Yep. And so, obviously, in case you've been living under a rock, the Pope has died. Um, I'm not religious, so you'll just have to eat that. I The reason I brought it up, this Pope actually refused to meet with J.D. Vance and sent their number two to lecture him on compassion. That was pretty recent. And again, I want to point out that having happened, the Pope having like, I'm not going to meet with you. Here's my number two. Go lecture him on compassion. That happened, and him also having met with the Pope. Those things are also allowed to happen. I hope everybody understands this. Okay, so on the one hand, he JD Vance and the Pope met, so there's jokes to be made like JD Vance killed the Pope. See, and then also the Pope and JD Vance were supposed to meet like again, and the Pope sent their number two to lecture him on compassion, and then ultimately, he dodged meeting with JD Vance for life by dying. Which, if you're gonna go, right? If you're gonna deny someone three times, I mean, I know he absolutely knows how to leave a room, you know. After 88 fucking years. Um, Zeke said, "Oh shit! Oh for real! I like this Pope. He was a little more progressive." Pope Francis was a wise man. He saw through a liar. CC said. Yeah. So. I started playing a new video game this weekend, and I'm kicking ass and taking names and having fun, and that's always fun. It's called Last Epoch. Uh, it is a video game about time traveling. Pope would rather die than meet with JD again. Yes, Kelpie, look at my last on TikTok. I just made a bit about it. I was probably first to wax, making jokes about the Pope dying today and saying that he ultimately dodged meeting with JD Vance for life by dying. But here's the Reuters article. Okay. Vatican says the Pope has died. Don't be shocked. He was 88. Like, come on. Keep your head up. Okay. And then obviously, I think, you know, if not the story of the day, okay, here's the article from the New York Times about Pete Hegseth sharing detailed plans via Signal. Again, it's almost like he can't just delete the app from his phone. Nobody can just say, "Yo, Pete, stop using fucking Signal." Like, there are umpteen other fucking apps. I could tell he's gonna die from the clip. You could tell he was gonna die. He was 88. That shit was fucking happening. I didn't know what the app was. Yeah, me neither. Hey, don't use Signal. If you're gonna cheat on your spouse, don't use Signal. Holy shit. Don't add somebody who's the editor in chief of a fucking newspaper. And then deny that shit in a hearing. I also wanted to point out again, I feel like Jared, I want you to make it to 100 plus years of age. Zeke, listen, Zeke, I gotta tell you something. So here's two schools of thought. Here's two schools of thought surrounding me. Okay, I have absolutely nothing wrong with me at 41. Full stop. I do smoke weed all day, every day, so that I'm probably gonna have to curb at some point. Otherwise, who knows what happens? My lungs will turn to fucking dust or something. Okay. So I'm guessing I'm gonna have to quit taking fat rips at some point. Um, I'm active and I'm not overactive. You get what I'm saying? I get like a good amount of activity in for an old man, so I should be okay. Should be okay. Try not to get too high, get too low. Try to keep pretty even keel. Right. I mostly practice what I preach. I don't work out enough to keep the dust off the kettlebells. You know what I mean? What if it does too since he was 16? Oh, it's the only way to fly. Yeah. Hmm. I mean, you again. I've said this before, but you've never seen me not medicated. Cool. Neither has any of employer. Yeah. And that is not why I'm a pilot. Just want to throw that out there. That was kind of that was kind of funny actually. And that's not why I'm not a pilot. Okay. Okay. John Marino in my fucking chat telling people they're gonna bow to him and shit. That better have been Bible versus John. I'm gonna be really disappointed. He's trying to start a religion in the fucking side chat. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, I'm in a good mood today because I haven't seen like awful, terrible, no good news that's incredibly fucking depressing. Except China, by the way, has decided, and this is kind of funny. By the way, I'm guessing Boeing customer service is getting blown up right now, and I don't mean literally. Um, China is returning their aircraft. They're sending back the new Boeing jets that were made more expensive by tariffs. They sent them back. That's generally not good. Just fucking throwing this out there, dog. When foreign countries are sending back massive air transport aircraft and they're like, nah, go ahead and keep that shit. Uh, that ain't good. Okay. Also, I want to make sure we point out that Boeing is some bootlicking ass, ring kissing ass, kissing. What? Who can't afford it? China can't afford it. Come on, son. That's like a failure of basic mathematics. That's part of the reason we're in this problem. If something's price increases by 125% between you ordering it and it arriving it, are you gonna fucking buy that? No. Bitch, I signed up for this. I paid for that. And you gonna charge me more? No. 25% more? No. Not on hundreds of $1 million aircraft? The fuck? Hell no. You have that shit back. Oh my god, the level of cope in my fucking YouTube chat is just monumental. Like if they were to do an expedition in search of copious amounts of cope, I found it. It's in my chat. Come get it. 2 for 1. Oops. You see, we're learning. And hey, by the way, if you ever wondered, is the news being suppressed? Consider that there's a subreddit. And I'm not talking about how fucking old it is. I'm just saying there's a whole ass subreddit about news that's being suppressed. And here, I'll save you the scroll in case you're like afraid to see what is being suppressed. Obviously, as you can imagine, protest a lot of gore, protest, comma, a lot of gore, and a lot of stuff that has to do with Palestine and Ukraine. So if you're one of those people that has had to check out because shit is bananas, and I do not mean BANANAS, um, suppressed news is a good place to avoid. If you're just like, I'm not gonna look at that because I don't want to know what they're hiding from us, what they're keeping us from seeing, and that is largely news reports as it refers to the atrocities of war, as it refers to Russia's, for the record, Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, Slava Ukraine, and then also, and side note to that, the best people I know, the best Americans I know, have volunteered and gone and fought for Ukraine. And then also, what suppressed news is clearly hiring. Good morning, Bobby. Is suppressed news that is being suppressed from you are the atrocities happening in Gaza. Free Palestine. One of the things that will stick out from me, for me forever, is that Israel. People are so dumb. I want to make sure we say this because obviously there's like a bunch of people in here. There's 80 people in here. Don't leave. I'm trying to tell you something. There's like enough people. There's like 100 people watching me right now. When you go watch my most recent short or my most recent TikTok about the Pope this morning, understand that I did not say that this Pope that just died never met with JD Vance. I didn't say that. And I understand that the late great George Carlin said half of all people are stupid and the other half are even stupider. Somebody said JD Vance unalived the Pope. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. See, I would much rather have that where somebody's like, "No, JD Vance is the reason the Pope is muerte," right? That's hilarious. How do we get restricted for that? I didn't do that. That somebody else did that. Ugh. So hey, anytime we get a restriction, we just have to reboot. So there's like 68 of you. Come right back. It wasn't my fault. I was just fuck. We're having a good time this morning. I'm in a good mood. I hope you're in a good mood today. But anyway, to get to finish what I was saying, the whole point of talking about suppressed news is there's examples every day of news that you're never gonna fucking see. Where it's like video and of again of largely gore, violence. It's not pretty. Um, that's what's being suppressed. And again, it tells me that the people like that are in charge of these large media companies are in fucking denial. I mean, again, as someone that fancies themselves a journalist, I don't get to choose what comes down the pipe, right? The news is the fucking news, right? I don't think of this as a job, right? This is something that I want to do, right? There's a reason I don't ask you for money, right? I was financially struggling when this first started, and I needed help through the winter, and I got some help, right? And I'm forever thankful, right? But you don't see me sharing links anymore. You don't, and it's because I feel like the audience, are owed this, right? You are owed someone sitting with you, kind of telling you about the news of the day, letting you have some kind of interaction with somebody about this before you have to go into public and have somebody fucking bring it up while you're waiting in line at the grocery store. Oh my God, did you hear the Pope died? And then you've now you knew about this for hours. Yeah, I heard. Right? May even picked up a joke or two, right? So that it's not such an uncomfortable situation. I will always default to humor, specifically of the gallows kind. It is a way to get through this that makes it a little more palpable. Yeah, right after seeing Vance. Yeah. And I want to point out this same Pope also denied meeting with Vance and instead sent their number two to lecture him on compassion. That also happened. That's why I made the video. Like, it was because if you're religious, it's about denying 3 times, right? And I talked about Jesus. It's like people didn't get it, right? The video that I made this morning, it was about how the Pope denied meeting with JD Vance by sending their backup, and then he denied him for life. And then after that, I said, there is no God when you die, you're worm food. Like there's 3 denials in the video. Nobody that makes it even fucking funnier when you realize you go back and you're like, he really did deny God 3 times. He said like he denied. Anyway, even if they met, and then that's also the reason JD that he's unalive. That's even better for the story, and you know what I mean, for the narrative. You know that actually Jared, he may have denied meeting him, and they sent their number two. They did end up meeting, right? I guess you can pay for access to anybody, literally. Anytime we get uh resistance, we're just gonna reset, trying to avoid a ban, right? It's the easiest way to do it. Make sure you like this shit, share this shit, okay? As we talk about the news, remember a lot of people are acting beyond the Great Tech Rebellion, as we've been calling it. Okay. The Great Tech Rebellion is no Facebook, Threads, IG, WhatsApp, Messenger, Twitter, Amazon. Get all that shit off your phone, right? That's the Great Tech Rebellion. Just stop using their shit. It's time to divest. By the way, a couple of the companies we've sort of learned have been supporting this regime. Avelo Airlines, Avelo. That's who's flying people out of the country in these overnight flights to El Salvador. Avelo, Avelo. And then what's the other? Oh, Palantir. Peter Thiel owns Palantir. That's who's outfitting and funding ICE. Mm-hmm. Yep. Make sure you divest from that as well. Mm-hmm. Right. There's a host of other companies we don't really do business with. And obviously you're gonna. This is one of those shows where you'll see. Can you comment on Trump's Easter message? What was Donald Trump's Easter message? You got a link? Oh, okay. Here. Are you talking about where he skipped church and went on an unhinged Easter posting spree? he was supposed to declare martial law yesterday, and he didn't do that. He's really doing real bad at following through on promises. Didn't he promise to deport like 14 million people, and he can't he fucked up like 2, and you know and then also What was else? Oh, he's gonna end the war in Ukraine on day one. Did that fucking happen? Oh, I didn't fucking think so. What about egg prices? Oh, does that? What about gas? What about groceries? Up, up, up. None of that shit's down. Also, he also didn't declare martial law, and he was supposed to do that shit too. And a lot of people came to me and they were really scared, and I told them the U.S. military does not train, is not prepared for, will never be called into for martial law. I can promise you that they're not prepared for that, and that's a problem, right? Also, you wouldn't use the U.S. military against its own people. I know that many of you are, for some reason, fantasizing about that, and it is wildly inappropriate. It will never happen. Good to go. It's like against a whole bunch of laws and rules and shit, and also you have to give the military time to prepare to do anything, and so yes, she was Zeke. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, good week of work here post Easter. I know there's a little bit of lull. Not for me really, just to be honest with you. Thursday's the NFL draft. Football never sleeps. By the way, I had said some people had asked me if I ever considered streaming, like making myself even more available. And I'd said, I play video games. Let's set a little goal here, and if I can get 2,000 followers on YouTube, that's a low bar. I'll stream myself. I primarily play ARPGs on my PC. Okay. Um, Diablo 4, Path of Exile, Diablo, Path of Exile 2, pretty much in that order right now. Like PoE 2 is pretty much unplayable horseshit. Diablo 4, blech. Um, I would play PoE over everything, and right now I'm playing Last Epoch. Um, I would probably not be like a high energy stream, but it'd be more along the lines of what this is, except I'm actually doing something. You can watch that instead of watch me. A lot of people just want to hang out, right? And so if you think about Hassan, for example, everybody loves Hasanabi, right? Everybody loves Hassan. It's like a progressive white man. Uh, if I understand it correctly, and I could be wrong, I'm allowed to be wrong. I don't think he can get elected to office in the United States. I can't remember why. So while you like him and shit, Bob said he gets his meds on Friday. Yeah, things are gonna get better towards the end of the week for you. I have the wildest little mini vacay right now at work. I traded a shift and then took one day off, and somehow I'm off 4 out of 5 days. So I have to work today, and then I'm off the next 2 days, and I just had the weekend off. I don't even know what to do with my hands. I'm gonna do yard work. Like, the fuck? You can only sit around and do nothing for so long. I'm one of those people. I get bored enough. I understand why people work. You know, you can only sit flat on your ass and do absolutely nothing for so long. You eventually will have to get up and do something. And also, I want to make sure I say it. I know I need a 4-day work week, because I would do that shit in a heartbeat. Personally, I think Tuesday and Wednesday are the actual days of the week that I do not want to be at work. Tuesday is the worst day of the week. It's the farthest from payday both ways. So if you're selling stuff and you go back and you look, what is the worst fucking day of the week for you? It's fucking Tuesday. Just throwing that out there. And Sunday. Sunday and fucking Tuesday are the worst days to work. Now, I'm a football fan, so this actually always served me because I didn't want to work on Sunday because I'm a football fan. I want to watch Sunday football. And being off on Tuesday means whatever happens at Monday Night Football is just what happens, right? And I can't control my hands. But this fall will be the first time my wife and I have the money to do anything during the NFL season. So maybe we'll go to Colts games. At least we'll go out and sit at a bar and drink beer and talk shit. So I'm really looking forward to the NFL season and college football. However, I'll be at work at Saturday unless I get some kind of Monday through Friday gig. Which who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want me making oodles of American dollars for you working a normal 9 to 5? You know what I mean? So I'm grateful to have all of you here. Sorry we had to reset everything. Long story short, whenever they send you restrictions, you're on a short list to catch a ban. So if you just reset, you don't have restrictions, right? So you give up that big audience that we'd built up. Hopefully, people will find us and forgive us. Okay. But one of the things I want to make sure I'm saying, because I don't hear people saying it, is what about all the women and children involved with all of these botched deportations? What's happening to them? What are you doing? Just smushing their face and taking who you take and leave? What happens to the women and children affected by these deportations? Are they being held as well? Are they being mistreated? And I think that's what happens when I start to think about what's going on. Is I think about like, okay, they're fucking clearly they couldn't get deportation right, right? Even if I mean, for the record, Donald, Elon's sitting like right there, right? You could totally deport someone, it be the correct person, the world fucking cheer you on. You know what I'm saying? Elon's right there. Okay? Think about it. That's why they're getting. Why do you think there's so much like potential stress there? Right? Hmm. So again, what about the women? What about the kids? What's going on with the kids who just their dad just got yanked, right? Because you keep one of the things you keep seeing is he's obviously being racist towards Venezuelan, right? Because it's Venezuelan migrants that he's picking on. Bukele is selling some deportees to El Salvador. Jesus, hey, Empress or Venezuela, yeah. I'll bet a lot of people did not know that Pope Francis, at a young age, was a bouncer at a bar. I was a bartender. So one of the higher paying jobs I've ever had. A lot of the times when I'd get bartending gigs, they'd pay me a bunch of money up front, and then I'd get tipped as well, and then I'd get tipped out at the end of the night, and then I'd get paid if there was some other labor that they need done, like, hey, help me, I don't know, clean out that bar that you just destroyed. I'll give you another few $100s. So I was a bartender. Shout out to all my barbacks, my servers, um, my dishwashers. I mean, I wash dishes, so when you are the bartender, you have to wash your own. I also had posted an article a while back about Florida universities being testing grounds for ICE, and I just wanted to make sure that we put this out there and say how troubling it is that an entire state in the United States is a testing ground for ICE. If I was an athlete and I was deciding where to go to college, where all my friends and family should come and watch me play, guess where I ain't going? If I'm, oh, I don't know, non white, I ain't going to any school in Florida. So all that talent from Florida, I hope it finds a home outside the state. I hope we see the rise, the continued dominance of programs like Alabama and Georgia are because no one would dare send their child to college in Florida. Not that's worth a shit. Um, there are also a lot of colleges, and again, I'm not a parent right now, but I got to kind of think like one because I am a high school football coach, right? Right now, there's some colleges in the U.S. that I wouldn't let my kids go to, particularly the ones that ordered the arresting of protesters, particularly for protesting against Israel, particularly for protesting against Russia, right? Specifically. Again, as I've said many times, Slava Ukraine, free Palestine. And I want to point out with not a bit of blowback. I just want you to know, Kate, I just want you to know it has had zero impact on my personal life to say Slava Ukraine and free Palestine. And that's because a large portion of the people that are hell yeah, I'll grab a Harvard T-shirt. Fuck yeah, I'd wear that. Wear the hell out of that. Remember, I'm a socialist, and I said be the first college to go tuition free. Who were the first two colleges to go tuition free? Does anybody know? Clock's ticking. Who were the first two colleges to go tuition free? Because the first one was Harvard, Ivy League, the best of the best. Mm-mm, mm-mm, MIT was the other one, and also the University of Texas. Now you look at the income restrictions. Don't worry about that shit. Okay, but listen at the colleges that have gone tuition free: Harvard, Carnegie Mellon, MIT. What else did you need to know? Is socialized education the future? I don't know. Carnegie Mellon, MIT, Harvard. Seems pretty obvious. University of Texas. Is socialized education the future? I don't know if. Hmm. Carnegie Mellon, MIT, Harvard. the University of Texas. Do you think they just like yeah, as long as you make I mean there again, one of the things I said Zeke was ignore the financial requirements. Like stop paying attention to the distraction, which is that there are income thresholds for this. Don't pay attention to that. Pay attention to who went tuition free first. Hey, it's probably a good guess, Kate. No, prestigious institutions. People are thinking too hard. Harvard, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, University of Texas. Uh, four of the four great fucking schools. What are we talking about? Would you let your kids go there? In a fucking heartbeat. That would be your entire career. If you're an educator or a coach and one of your kids goes to fucking Harvard, you won. That's it. That's the height of fucking education. Get into something else. Go change the world. You could do it, right? Now, I'm a Purdue alum, okay? So I love Purdue University. I also know that it's the second most diverse college campus in the United States outside of Rutgers. So I love the Big Ten. Hmm. Now, the Big Ten, not the Big Ten, Purdue University has frozen tuition for probably like the last 20 years or so. And so, again, I would ask you think about what you have now come to know in the last few minutes. Harvard, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, University of Texas, all tuition free with income thresholds. Purdue University has frozen tuition going on like 20 years. They're one of the best places for higher education in the United States, in the world, dare I say. Purdue University. Boiler the fuck up. What an ad for you, right? Empress said my daughter graduated from Purdue. I will eventually. So I did 3.5 years, was taking capstone courses for flight and aviation technology when the economy crashed. The FAA went on a hiring freeze. My degree program went from being highly valuable to worthless. Oh, graduated from Purdue Global. It's awesome. I studied Purdue Global. I did 2.5 years studying data analytics, got into capstone courses, and then I spent a couple years studying artificial intelligence within the confines of the coursework, and I just kind of fell out of love with the idea of doing that shit the rest of my life. And initially, I was gonna, by the way, get a degree in data analytics and be a STEM teacher. But I found out that there's some fucked up shit with the jobs available in STEM, to where I'd call about a job and they'd be like, that wasn't supposed to be public, that was supposed to be an internal post only. It's only for existing teachers, and it was a way to dangle a carrot and keep teachers around, is to promise them a STEM teacher as a job title and give them a pay raise. It was like a $8,000 pay raise they were dangling over their science, technology, education, and math teachers to get them to stick around within the IPS system. They weren't real. The jobs weren't real. Oh, it's been piss and rain. I said USAF. Hey, thank you for your service. And teacher retired. Good luck. Yeah, and also teachers get treated like absolute horseshit. Is the other reason that when my best friend called me for over a decade, his name's AJ. He also lives in Indianapolis. He's a homeowner. I go see him every couple weeks, and we play video games together and stuff like that. I contact him. I'm like, hey man, turned Purdue down and went to IU. See, I would have done even worse in school if I was at IU. Special education proud. But yeah, my best friend for over a decade, who I've worked at multiple businesses with, he called me crying, cashing a $26,000 check for 1 month's bonus for a job. It's like a life-changing amount of money. I don't know about you, but if my, best work got me 20 fucking $1,000, that could forcibly change my life, right? Like pay off some debt type shit, get myself out of Hawk, right? So instead of continuing with an education program that was not going to result in a job because those jobs didn't exist, I decided to get that full-time job. And also because people are wondering like, how's the job going? Excellent. I'm above board. Like when my boss and I had a meeting the end of last week. Okay, we hadn't had a meeting in over 2 weeks, just like a one-on-one. And he said, "I'm gonna be real honest with you," and I'm thinking in my head like, "Yeah, I'm about to get fired." Right, as I have PTSD and shit and anxiety, so like, of course, I'm sitting there like, this dude's gonna fucking tell me I suck and send me home. And he was like, um, for most people, when I sit down with them, they have like things that they can improve on, and we have the data to support that. And he's like, but your numbers are insane. I don't have anything for you. And he was like, what are you doing this weekend? That was the meeting. Like, what do you want me to tell you? You're above board. Like, let's move on to other shit. What are you doing this weekend? That's how my meetings go with my boss. Like, they don't want me to see my teammates' numbers because they don't want that to affect my performance, right? They'll just like show you your numbers and be like, normally we would have like a conversation about you improving and it resulting in you having more success. Um, you're awesome. Keep going. Like my boss told me when we first met after he listened to some calls, you could be like a good agent. And now he's like, I might have underestimated you. Shit. And I just try to be very consistent. That's but all I can do is be consistent. That's all I can do. So thanks. And I'm sure I'll get asked to be in leadership at some point, and unless it's a significant pay raise and a schedule improvement, like I'm not really interested. I'll just keep coming in and kicking ass. Like let's just keep doing the thing I'm good at, right? But that's what typically happens in organizations when I get hired is like 5 minutes in, they're like, okay, be leadership. And you're like, I just got here though. And they're like, oh yeah, be leadership. But and yeah. So back to the news. Like I said, what here are you ready for the pipe dream? I don't really have those. I just like go out and do stuff. This morning for some dumb reason, I got in my brain was telling me, what does it say? Plus chapter 35. Well, I don't, what's that? She got masters at 22, owns company in Manhattan. Plus chapter 35. Good luck. Special education and proud. Yeah, if you were a teacher, for sure. It's like one of the most honorable professions. Did you talk about Trump abolishing the Supreme Court? Oh shit! No, let me see. What did he do? I already did voc rehab. They're actually paying me because I got a job, so they pay you out. Trump said he loved the poorly educated. Yeah. Yeah, didn't Amy Klobuchar, didn't she like sit with them and work with them? Like I don't understand why she acting like But yeah, I applied for Voc Rehab and I was gonna go be a STEM teacher and finish up a degree in data analytics from Purdue and they agreed they were gonna pay for it. But the I'll put it like this: the best agent in my job made $700,000 last year working a 40-hour work week. Helping people get out of debt. And I don't know about you, but that's a fuckload of money. That is so many doll hairs. That's like that's like four times a. That's probably like 400 plus $1,000 when it's all said and done. I could pay off my house and all of my debt and still have like $200,000. Now pretend I'm half as good, and it. I was just talking about in a year. So and I'm also good, so I'm making good money too. I'm in month two off the floor, and I'd have done like 710K, so that's 7,000, right? And it ultimately is going to help fuel my little socialist projects that I want to do, right? Where I've talked about like growing a garden and getting solar panels and a generator and kind of showing people, I'm not a prepper. It's not what we're prepping for. We're uh we're forcibly loosening the grip on my throat that capitalism has, right? That I can't be more self-sufficient and lower my reliance on this system of which this demented old man can just disturb the market. And it's just true. He's done it multiple times. And by the way, he has fucking dementia, so he doesn't even remember that he fucked the stock market up yesterday. By the way, when you're as your retirement fucking dwindles, as your 401k gets rocked, just know Donald Trump doesn't even fucking remember that he did that, bro. He said the old heads in the DNC are talking shit about David Hogg. Mm-hmm. Every day is Friday for us. Said thank you for your service. Hey, thank you. Remember, most recently, Chuck Schumer said his job was to keep the left pro-Israel. Good luck and Godspeed. Thanks. So yeah, look, there's 80 people in here. There's about 100 people watching. Remember, hey, control what you can control. 8 hours of sleep a night. You probably need to take a nap, drink water, eat right, and exercise right. Yes, I can hear dogs barking in the background. They can wait. They went out right before we went live. But yeah, I don't know if y'all heard this morning. I was saying I'm looking at redistributing the podcast. I'm thinking about. Right now. I'm reading Descript to figure out where to go. James Carville. Yeah. Yep. I think in my humble opinion, this is the death of the Republican Party. I'm making sure I say it early and often that they're going to splinter. The MAGA folk are going to go one way, and the people that still are dumb enough to call themselves Republicans are going to go another way. And it's not going to work out for either of them. They're going to lose. Okay. Now, the problem that I foresaw, and the reason that I'm founding the American Socialist Party, is because I foresee this being the death of the Republican Party. And my fear is what happens when you live in a democratic republic and you only have one party. I don't know. Go read about a uniparty. Go read what happens when you have a single party in rule in a country. And that's where we are barreling towards. Everybody is like fucking afraid of what is happening right now, is that you're living in an authoritarian, fascist authoritarian dictatorship slash kleptocracy slash technocracy slash accelerationist vision. That's what's happening right now. That's where you're living in right now. And as I've said, it's a losing model. It has a lot of attrition attached. Every single day, they distance themselves from what Republicans were, right? What their values were, right? Again, I've been saying, I'll continue to say forever, conserve what? Conserve what? What are they conserving? Not a goddamn thing. The wealth of billionaires. My fear is not what we're living in, because remember, I've said this whole time, one of the things that I'm leaning on is that this regime is stupid. The president of the United States, his vice president, that entire fucking cabinet, most of the people elected in the GOP and Republican Party are dumber than a box of motherfucking rocks. And and that's losing. That shit loses. And so I'm foreseeing, if the Democratic Party gets its shit in one sock, the Democratic Party could snowball the fucking Republicans and them be completely ineffective, only win in deeply red states forever, and the Democratic control of the country grows. A lot of people think like, oh, that's not so bad. But here's the problem. There is a growing contingency within the Democratic Party called the Blue Dog Coalition. This is a group of conservative voting Democrats. And I know you hear that and you're like, ain't no motherfucking way that's real. Oh, yeah. 54 elected officials call themselves Blue Dog Coalition members. They are going to stymie anything that Democrats try to do within that uniparty theory where the Republican Party dies, just the Democratic Party left, and they're going to be ineffective. They're going to be inefficient. They are not going to get shit done, and you're going to sit there and go, yeah, but at least nobody's like openly committing fucking crime and shit. Right. But what you won't see protections put in place for LGBTQIA+. You won't see things put in place to protect unions, right? You won't see legislation coming that protects women. You won't see legislation coming that protects our trans friends or immigrants. You won't see that. You will see them riding the middle, no change, quid pro quo, status quo. This is what we're doing. We're just trying to keep a stable blood pressure, right? We're not at all trying to piss anyone off with our sensitivities. Well, what dies? What dies? Excuse me. What dies when the Republican Party dies? Strong progressive ideals die. Why? Because then the appeasement goes towards appeasing wealthy upper class Democrats who control the money and and therefore the messaging, which is what happens when the right dies. Is the people that have power in media that are also notably Democrats right now. Yeah, I made a whole ass video about the fucking Pope dying. I'm also not religious. Thank you. So I made a whole video about the Pope dying. I'm also not religious, but thank you. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, like a while ago, by the way. So, I forget what I was talking about. I got derailed. Oh yeah, my fear with the Uniparty, right? Like what's left over after the Republican Party just shits itself, which is it's in the currently in the process of doing. What happens is nothing, no progress, and we all burn to death anyway. This again, that's the future I foresee. If we don't, as just regular people, for the record, I, like most of the people I've ever met in my life, have never called myself a Democrat or Republican. Ever. I've never put a sticker on my car. I've never campaigned for any elected official. I've never understood why you would want to put a donkey or an elephant logo on yourself. I've never understood it. And as much as I want this to be a commercial for the American Socialist Party and actually have a logo and shit set up, we're getting there. Okay? We're getting there. We're getting to the point where I might one day have enough extra income to establish a bank account, put money in it, get us an ITN, get us registered, and then redistribute the podcast to a wider audience and start fundraising uh, specifically for the American Socialist Party. And understand that there are about 600. Think about it. There's like 600 elected officials in the United States, and about half of them or more, about 400, need to be replaced fucking yesterday. And it's now's the time. Don't wait for the Democratic Party to get around to it. You need to think as an audience member of mine. How can I help this man build an American Socialist Party? I'll tell you, I need a treasurer up front, somebody who is a treasurer, somebody who has the time, that can manage funds, that understands how campaigns and all that shit are run. I don't know what the fuck I am doing. There's a reason I'm going to go back and finish and get a degree from Purdue University in political science, right? And then I'm going to study law. I've already taken an LSAT. There's an entire reason I dropped out of fucking college because I did really good on an LSAT, having absolutely no fucking clue what I was doing. Okay. Okay. So and again, it's not theories. These are based on mathematics. My theory is that the Republican Party is going to unalive. It's just going to die. And you'll be left with this shitty Democratic Party that took you for granted. That one of the things that has always bothered me is the way they talk about Indiana, flyover country. Democrats, one of the things they've done is not gave a fuck about every political office. So there's one reason that the American Socialist Party should absolutely run roughshod over politics. The first reason is every race is important. The best person for the job exists, that meets all the qualifications, has all the experience necessary, meets those thresholds. And that's not who Republicans and Democrats put up for office. They don't put best person for the job up for the office. Nope. They pick the best fundraiser. It gets appointed, it gets picked, it gets decided for them, right? Never forget what the Democratic Party did to Bernie Sanders. Never forget what they did in 2016. Imagine what had happened if it had been Donald Trump v. Bernie. Yep. So understand, if you want progressive policies to pass and be popular, and I know that's a lot of alliteration for some of you, you have to find a safe haven for progressive policy, and the Democratic Party is not that, because it's too much about money for the Democratic Party and not enough about grassroots politics. So the whole point of developing the American Socialist Party by being a syndicalist socialist, by me telling you how important unions are and to join your unions. And if you feel like I do, that everyone should have universal health care, education, income, and housing, that you believe that you're pro equality, if you're pro union, hey, guess what? You're a syndicalist socialist. All you got to do is be able to explain the seizure of the means of production and social ownership of business within the confines of the United States economy, which is stock driven. We have a stock market here. The way social ownership of business works is that if your company's stock is publicly traded, then you ought to have a union who owns large portions of stock in the company and therefore has a lot more power in within the confines of that company, within this economy that we've decided. This is what we decided to do. Socialism can exist within that framework. It can also fight against the things that exist within our economy, like all the corruption, for example. If we care enough, the DOJ, police, they work for us. Not reading at all. Why would I read? What do I need to read for? This is a Learn Live, teaching you about socialism. There are syndicalist, socialist parties all over the world having a large impact on politics. That's not how it works. Hey, maybe this. You're in the wrong place. Thanks. Thanks. You're just in the wrong place. Okay? Understand that there are socialist parties all over the world implementing and passing socialist policy. Okay? If the workers have stake in company stocks, it's less likely to get shorted by a billionaire for them to go bankrupt, right? So if your union at your job tells you to take your money and buy stock in this company with us, be part of this collective that socially, publicly owns this business. We can get rid of private equity just with unions. With unions getting you better wages and benefits, keeping you on the job more, making you more money, so that you can buy stock in the company you work for. And when you own stock of the company you work for, you're less likely to fuck up on purpose because it's going to affect the stock that you own, right? And it's going to keep the stock from getting shorted and bought out by billionaires that have nothing to do with your company, right? And think about it. You if you went to union leadership, not necessarily the chosen one, not the leader of the union, I'm willing to bet you a good portion of your union leadership wants universal health care so that they don't have to worry about overworking an employee who has been sick and what the fallout's going to be and how it's going to impact them, right? Union membership has been declining for decades, and it's because the media does not want you fed and housed and happy and healthy. The media needs you unhoused, unhappy, unhealthy, so they can have story, so they can have news for you. So understand, till the union leaders sell their souls to their masters. Well, that's the whole point. If you all own stock as individuals, then your union leader has a lot less power. Because you could just oust your union leader. It's not that hard. Just vote to replace him if he's a dickhead. If everybody owns stock, that union leader has less power, right? If they don't, it's a problem. Okay? Hmm. There's a whole reason to say like socialism works because we have to replace private equity. That's the biggest challenge facing socialism is that private equity runs everything, but it won't, and it doesn't have to, and its grip is loosening, and they're not, you know what I mean, they're not able to maintain their grip on the economy. They're being forced to divest. Forced Look at what they were forced to do to survive. Look at what capitalism was forced to do to survive. The wealth power of this country concentrated its power to put itself in position to make itself even more wealthy, right? And instead of going out and joining unions and building community, which is exactly what we should all be doing, right? One of the first things I did on or after November 5th is I went across the street and shook hands with my neighbor who's getting ready to retire, who didn't vote for this either, and we talked about growing gardens. And I asked him what he was growing and what he was good at growing. Privatize the gains, socialize the losses. I mean, that's what they're trying to do, right? There's a large protest in Yemen a few days ago. Yep. And understand there are certain services that are not supposed to be profitable. And 2008 should have been a wake up call, yeah. Here's current SecDef, by the way, sharing battle plans on Signal with his wife, his attorney, and I can't remember the other person. Capitalize against socialized loss, yeah. Because my fear is if we don't build a pro union, pro equality workers party completely grassroots, the powers that be right now, that are in power right now, can topple this democratic machine and stay in power forever and take all of your rights and literally imprison you, American citizens, in the prisons they're building and make you their slave because they know there's not much in the way keeping us from getting out from under them. It just takes collective action, right? That protest, boycott, and strike are the best nonviolent methods to making a regime uncomfortable. Yeah, yeah. Somebody said Auschwitz was in Poland, right? Jared is up to Congress to vote out the Supreme Court. I think that's hilarious. Aren't some of those people appointed by him? So because he's not getting his way. It's crazy that major news organizations are writing whole ass stories about Look at this shit. Anybody wondered why? Anybody wonder why Donald Trump deported all these people? Remember, it's all about the money, right? Look at this shit. Look at this shit. El Salvador, where CCOT is, has offered Venezuela a prisoner swap. And they're going to give the people that the U.S. deported, okay, if Venezuela releases political prisoners. So again, I just want to point out the President of the United States deported 252 people to El Salvador who are being used by El Salvador to negotiate with Venezuela for the release of political prisoners. And the U.S. president facilitated that. Specifically, Palantir facilitated, Palantir/ICE facilitated the kidnapping and trafficking of 252 people, Venezuelans living in the United States, to El Salvador, who are being used by El Salvador as a bargaining chip to have political prisoners released in Venezuela. People for people. The President of the United States is affiliated with that. Just make sure we say that loud, proud, and a few times. Okay? Oh, and with no due process. I want to make sure we understand. And I know it's kind of goes without saying. It's not actually even deportation. It's called rendition. Okay? Rending someone, okay, is forcibly kidnapping them and then trafficking them. I want to keep pointing out CCOT is not open. That place is not open for business. That is a former prison, an ex-prison. And now we find out that those people that Donald Trump rended are being used as a bargaining chip for political prisoners. That's human trafficking. What the fuck? Okay. Anyway. You know, if I start a story with, I'm like, that does not look like. This does not look like a trans person or drag queen or any of my LGBTQIA plus friends. That looks an awful lot like a white man arrested after being found in a 9-year-old's bedroom. His name, Robert McDowell III. Everyone. Notably, not a person of color, or trans, or a drag queen, or a woman. Just throwing that out there. And remember, if you're looking for, saying not in America as cover can't be used anymore. Yeah, no shit. Remember, I think there are three really very important subreddits that at the bare minimum is where your eyes should be. R50501, R Protest Finder USA, and again, I'm kind of adding in the suppressed news subreddit. And again, I don't want you to get in the habit of doom scrolling. Okay? Again, I'm not necessarily pointing to the news or the politics or world news, which are the other subreddits. Those are a little more obvious. Okay? I'm pointing to the ones where you who have stuck around, you clearly are vibing with what I'm saying. Nothing what I'm saying is too extreme, right? Get 8 hours of sleep. You probably need to take a nap, drink water, eat right, exercise, right? Like live a healthy lifestyle. And also, we sit and we talk about the news every day, right? A good hour and a half, a whole bunch of news topics. Think about it. When you watch 30 minutes of the news, right? Are they talking about as many topics as we can touch in a 30-minute window? Hell no. We talk about way more over the course of a show, right? And you get the links, and these are New York, today it was the New York Times, Reuters, AP. Um, so that's one of the things I kind of pride myself on, right? Bobby said it, definitely a nap day, might be snowing again. Jesus, this weather's just been wild, okay? And like I said, what I'm looking into, and so I don't want you to be surprised if the numbers go up, right? If more people start watching the show. I'm gonna pay to redistribute the podcast. And again, this is with the knowledge that that investment, which I think right now is like $10 is what I'm looking at a month. I'm spending that money to grow the audience so that we can fund the American Socialist Project. You see how all that worked, right? I have not put a bunch of money. I have not focused a bunch on production, right? That's not really what I'm here for, right? I'm here filling a hole, right? There's a hole in the way media is covered. Lots of the things that we talk about on a daily basis, the news won't touch, right? Like, do you honestly, when you come in here, do you expect that when I sit here and I tell you that the 252 Venezuelans that the President of the United States fucked up a deportation on and actually kidnapped and trafficked are being used in a fucking prisoner swap with Venezuela for political prisoners? Do you think the news is going to tell you that? Like, do you think Fox News is going to tell you that the President of the United States did this? Because we already know the answer about him being held accountable. We already know that. Do you think that mainstream media is going to talk about that on the news today? Because I know the answer. There's a reason that we sit here and talk about the shit. I know they're not going to say that shit. Yeah, they're going to spin it. They're going to turn it into something else. The 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 president of El Salvador is within his right to use prisoners as he sees fit, and they are not the problem of the United States once they leave U.S. soil. How much you want to bet? Some. Hey, I can't listen. I can't even pretend to be as stupid as this regime. Okay, I'm bad at that. Okay, I'm a bad actor. Okay, I can't even lower myself to that enough that it's believable that I'm not acting. Right? Because they are not acting. This is who they really are. It's not like these people get brighter outside of office, right? Yeah, Zeke said they'll never tell the truth on Gaza, right? And again, how many times have you watched a news program where the news anchor has said on multiple occasions, "Free Palestine"? Slava Ukraine, right? And I know that if you're on the outside looking in the United States right now, the United States looks awfully pro Russia and pro Israel. And I can assure you that there aren't very many people in the United States that feel that way. Most of the people that you'll run into in the United States agree with me. Free Palestine, Slava Ukraine. And I know, again, if you don't live in the United States, that you can't see that. You don't know that. But I could promise you I do. I could promise you it's that way. I'll put it like this. I try to not get out a lot and not overexpose myself. I've only met one person that even says Israel's name at all, much less positively. Does that make sense? I've only run into like one person that even says Israel. Do you get it? It's like not a thing for way more people than it is a thing. And then in the same breath, some people are just too far gone. Okay. Wait, who who the fuck is we? Ain't no we here. Where you all at then? Nowhere. Hell no, I'm not a Zionist. No. Israel is a rogue nation state, hell bent on the extermination of the Palestinian people. And it's people like Donald Trump and Bibi that have maintained a relationship that is the reason why the United States has had to continue supporting that. Mm-hmm. uh, and you won't catch me. One of the things you will not catch me is you will not catch me riding a line, right? Trying to appease people. You won't catch me doing that. I'm a line stepper. I will step across the line. I will say exactly what the fuck I feel. Even if it is something that is bad and I need to work on myself and it's not good that I feel that way, you know? So hey, it's about that time. We start as we finish as we start. Again, with a little bit of music, a little bit of Eat the Rich from Aerosmith, a little bit of a throwback. So for those of you, and also Zeke, I can't trademark "Good to Go." That's a Marine thing that just stuck. I do that shit to everybody. It's terrible. At least I don't say tracking question mark. That's the thing I figured out that I'm like I know I'm okay is I don't fucking knife hand people and I don't say tracking question mark. And I also don't say tracking period, right? Like I got it, tracking, like I don't do that shit. That shit's wild. But the good to go. Good to go? That's gonna be a thing. We're gonna say that. Did say something to Alito though. I did. Yeah, I was gonna see. Somebody said something about before we go, real quick. Listen to that track, right? Listen to the music. What were we talking about? Trump to abolish the Supreme Court. Are you talking about this? Where he's demanding, he wrote an order demanding the repeal? I hope there's people here that's what they were talking about. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what everybody's talking about. I'm catching up on that subject, so I'll probably try to figure that out. If you see something that is more in lines with what that was, thanks, Bobby. I, I'm a little lost because people were saying, like, did you see where Donald Trump's trying to abolish the Supreme Court? All I could find is this. I just shared it with you from whitehouse.gov from April 9th. So it's about 11 days ago. Are we talking about him trying to repeal Supreme Court decisions? Is that what we're talking about? I just want to make sure that I'm not out of the loop, right? Because that'd be kind of crazy. You host a daily news show and you don't fucking know the news, right? Yeah, I'm thinking it's that from a little over a week ago. Okay, I just want to make sure that hey, I shared it with you. Okay, great show today, everybody. Had a nice time. Uh, Again, one of the fantastic things about the way that we've done things here uh, is that we don't have to worry much about fluff. Blowback, I would say. Like, you'll notice, like, one person came into the show today and was like, I disagree. And it was like, cool story, you're a bot. Thanks a lot. So, that's one of the things I want to make sure we point out. Because there's 60 people in here still at the end of the show, plus 15, that's another 75. So there's 75 people right now. Think about how little hell I catch. Think about the powers that be and the threat that these Republicans live under. Think about it really hard. Don't you think if we were in danger, if shit was about to pop off, don't you think I would be catching a whole lot more shit? Don't you think about getting a lot more hell? Right? I don't know how to explain it other than to say like lots of them are bots, right? But even more are cowards. They see that second Mar div shit and they dive off because they know they don't have this. And just know that in like your heart of hearts, largely cowards. And how do you know that? Well, I've spent 6 months, right? I spent 6 months on this every morning, same time, same bat channel, talking about the fucking news. And how much shit do we catch? Less than 1%. Less than 1% of all of the interactions negative. Think about it. What do you want? What do people want? And what do Americans want? And what are they getting? And again, I don't care about the numbers, right? The growth of the show. It wouldn't matter what the fuck we did if you do it consistently, it grows. Right? Doesn't matter what the fuck you do if you do it consistency, it grows. Consistently, it grows. So knowing that, think about how little shit we catch. And then think about what that means for how widely acceptable what the ideals that we're talking about here are. And remember, I told you progressive policy fucking wins. The most notable statistic that I can recall in recent politics is that progressive candidates win 70% of the elections they progressive candidates win 70% of elections they participate in. So, especially all you that are like retired teachers, have degrees, are interested in politics, and are seeing what I'm saying and saying, Jared, I want to be a member of the American Socialist Party. I want to run for political office. I wouldn't call myself a Democrat or Republican. As long as you're pro equality, pro union, you're for universal healthcare, education, income, and housing, and you can understand and describe the social ownership of business and seizure of the means of production, hey, baby, guess what? You're a socialist. Hey, baby, guess what? You're a socialist. You're a white panther. So, as I said yesterday, vive la resistance.